Stop nagging. I'm exhausted. So you handle the kids yourself. Those were the words that finally broke something inside me. Adam always threw childcare responsibilities on me, as if parenting was a burden meant solely for mothers to bear. He avoided any conversation about our children's future, brushing it off with cold indifference. Until that point, I had truly believed that Adam's detachment came from exhaustion, that his coldness, his distance, his constant absence were the price of his demanding job. I told myself he was doing it for us, for the family. But that illusion shattered the day I discovered the truth, that his so-called business trips were nothing more than weekends spent in hotel rooms with another woman. Her name was Lila, and from that moment, I decided I wouldn't cry or beg. I would take my time, stay calm, and make them both regret ever crossing me. This wasn't about jealousy anymore, it was about justice, about dignity, about reclaiming everything Adam had taken from me over the years. And I wouldn't be alone. My allies were the very children he had neglected, Ethan and Dakota. The cracks in our family. I'm Nayan, 48 years old. For most of my adult life, I've been a housewife, working part-time here and there to keep the household running. Our family consisted of my husband, Adam, 2 years older than me, and our 19-year-old twins, Ethan and Dakota. Adam was the kind of man people called reliable, from the outside, neat, polite, with that confident smile he used like a mask. But at home, he was distant, dismissive, and absent. His job in sales kept him constantly on the road. He left early, came home late, and spent weekends either sleeping or working on presentations. When the twins were small, I did everything alone, the sleepless nights, the doctor's visits, the school events. I told myself that was what good mothers did. But now, looking back, I realize I had been living half a marriage, doing all the work, while Adam only showed up for photographs and holidays. Ethan and Dakota grew up to be gentle, kind, and quiet, perhaps too quiet. They never demanded anything, never rebelled, never even raised their voices. I had wanted them to be strong, confident adults, but maybe my constant worrying made them hesitant to take risks. Then came the epidemic, lockdowns, isolation. The whole world froze, and so did our children's futures. Schools closed. Graduation was a shadow of what it should have been, and college plans evaporated. By the time restrictions lifted, Ethan and Dakota were unsure of what to do with their lives. They decided to work part-time jobs while figuring things out. I supported that decision, but secretly, I was anxious. I wanted to discuss it with Adam, maybe come up with ideas together. But every time I tried, he shut me down. The conversation that changed everything. One rare morning, Adam was home. He was sitting on the sofa, scrolling through his phone, wearing that half-distracted, half-irritated expression he always had when I tried to talk. "Hey, dear," I began gently. "I'm worried about Ethan and Dakota. They're good kids, but they seem stuck. Don't you think we should help them think seriously about their future?" Adam didn't even look up. "It's because of the lockdowns. Everyone's dealing with the same thing. If we leave them alone, they'll figure it out. You're too involved with the kids, that's your problem." I felt my throat tighten. "Too involved?" I repeated softly. "I'm their mother. If I don't worry about them, who will? You've barely been home since they were born." That got his attention. His eyes flicked up, cold and sharp. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm saying maybe it's time you also take responsibility as their father," I said, my voice trembling but steady. "Parenting isn't just my job, Adam. We should." Stop nagging," he snapped, standing abruptly. "I'm exhausted. Handle the kids yourself." And with that, he turned and stormed off toward his room. But before he disappeared down the hallway, he threw one last dagger over his shoulder. "Oh, I'm going on a business trip tomorrow. Prepare my things." The door slammed. I stood there, staring at the wall, realizing just how far gone our marriage really was. At the time, I still thought his indifference was because of stress or burnout, but that night, fate decided I'd been blind long enough. The discovery. While folding laundry outside the changing room, I heard his phone ring inside. Adam was in the shower. Normally, he'd answer curtly, in his clipped business tone, "Yes, I'll send the documents," or, "Call me after the meeting." But this time, his voice was different, light, playful. I froze. towel still in my hands. "Oh, Lila, not that one," he said, laughing softly. "Wear the blue dress tomorrow, it suits you better." A pause. "Lunch? Sure, somewhere quiet, just us." The sound of my own heartbeat drowned out the rest of the words. Lila. The name echoed in my head like thunder. Lunch, blue dress, tomorrow. But tomorrow, he was supposed to be on a business trip. When the water stopped, I hurriedly pretended to be folding sheets, but my hands were shaking. The door opened, and Adam stepped out, towel around his neck. He froze when he saw me. "Nayan, how long have you been there?" I forced a smile. "Just came to drop the laundry off." "Why? Did something happen?" He looked at me for a moment, then smiled. "No, nothing." I tilted my head, pretending to think. "By the way, where's this business trip tomorrow? I should at least know where you'll be staying." His brows furrowed instantly. "Why are you asking that all of a sudden? You never care about that stuff." I gave a little laugh, trying to sound casual. "I'm visiting your parents soon. Wouldn't it be odd if I couldn't even tell them where you're traveling for work?" He hesitated, clearly improvising. Austin. A colleague arranged the accommodations. I'll send you the address later." I nodded. Of course. Inside, I was certain he was lying. The evidence. 3 days later, Adam came home from his so-called business trip, looking unusually cheerful. "I'm home, man. I'm exhausted," he said, throwing his jacket on the sofa. "I'll skip the shower and crash." As soon as I heard his steady breathing, I slipped into silent motion. I searched his travel bag first, nothing out of the ordinary, but when I checked the pockets of his suit, I felt something thin and crinkled. 2 sheets of paper. My heart pounded as I unfolded them. A divorce application, already filled out with Adam's details. And beneath it, a marriage registration form, his name neatly written beside a woman's, Lila Powell. My vision blurred. I stood there in the dark, the papers trembling in my hands. He hadn't just thought about leaving me, he'd already planned a new life with her. That's when Ethan's voice startled me. "Mom? What's that?" I turned quickly, trying to hide the papers, but it was too late. He stepped closer, frowning. "Are those divorce forms?" He glanced at the second sheet and froze. "Wait, Lila Powell?" My blood ran cold. "You know her?" Before Ethan could answer, Dakota appeared at the doorway, her voice trembling. "Isn't that the woman Dad keeps calling from the bathroom? I heard him once. I didn't know if I should tell you." I stood there, speechless. My own children had known, or at least suspected, that their father was betraying me, and still, they'd stayed quiet to protect me. Ethan clenched his fists. "Mom, if he's really planning to marry her, we can use this. If the husband's information is already filled in, anyone can submit it, even a proxy." I stared at him, stunned. "You mean, actually submit these to the office?" He nodded grimly. "Yes, but first, I'll go to Dad's company tomorrow. I want to see those 2 with my own eyes." Dakota added, "And I'll submit the divorce papers. Let's see how Dad reacts when he finds out he's legally married his mistress." Their calmness unnerved me. For the first time, I saw a new fire in their eyes, not the gentle passivity of before, but something sharper, colder. That night, Ethan finally told me everything. He had met Lila 2 years ago when he worked part-time at a cafe. She had flirted with him openly, calling him cute, touching his cheek, asking for his number. He'd been naive then, flattered by the attention of an older woman, but when he realized she was Adam's coworker and later, Adam's mistress, the admiration turned into disgust. That was when I knew, the revenge wasn't mine alone anymore. It was a family affair. At that time, Ethan had told me about the strange encounter with that woman, Lila, and how it had all started so innocently. "Well," he recalled, rubbing the back of his neck, "at the time, I thought she was kind of a cool older woman, you know? Confident, elegant, not like the people my age, so I smiled. Then Lila got all carried away, handed me her business card, and told me to call her anytime." He had said it with a sheepish grin, but the grin faded quickly. After I thought about it calmly later, I didn't contact her, but then she started following me, calling me from different numbers, showing up at the cafe, leaving notes under my bike seat. It got really creepy. I froze when I heard that. My son, stalked by the very woman who had ruined my marriage. At that time, I had no idea any of this had happened. Come to think of it, that cafe where Ethan had worked after high school was just a few blocks from Adam's company. Could it really be that Lila had set her sights on my son before she set her trap for my husband? Though it seemed almost too twisted to believe, I decided to ask him directly. Ethan, I said carefully, you didn't contact or meet with Lila after that, did you? Ethan hesitated. His face stiffened for a moment, and I could see a shadow cross his expression. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he exhaled sharply and looked away. That silence told me more than words could. Something had definitely happened, but his eyes, the mix of shame and discomfort in them, begged me not to push further. I decided not to. Not yet. If that woman had done anything to hurt my son, I would find out soon enough, and when I did, I would make sure she paid for it. Then a thought struck me. Lila's surname, Powell. Could she possibly be from that Powell family? The one everyone in town whispered about, a family that ran a legitimate construction business on the surface but was rumored to have deep ties to the local underworld? If my suspicion was right, then Adam was not just having an affair. He had gotten tangled up with a very dangerous family. But I would confirm that soon. Because tomorrow, Ethan said, he was going to greet those two, and when he said that, a spark of determination lit in his eyes. That night, while the rest of the house was quiet, I stayed awake, going over the details of my plan. I was done being the quiet wife who endured in silence. Tomorrow, I would expose them both, Adam and Lila, in front of everyone. The next morning, Adam left for work unusually cheerful. He whistled as he adjusted his tie, something I hadn't seen in years. He probably thought his little business trip had gone perfectly, that his secret affair was safe and his double life intact. He had no idea that his perfect world was about to collapse. Once Adam left, Ethan and Dakota called their part-time jobs and took the day off. We had breakfast together, quiet but charged with anticipation. The twins had never looked more serious. After Adam had been at work for about an hour, Ethan got ready and left for Adam's company. Dakota, meanwhile, headed to the municipal office with the two forms, the divorce application and the marriage registration Adam had carelessly filled out. I waited anxiously at home, pacing the living room. Every few minutes, I checked my phone, my heart pounding. Then, at last, Dakota's message came in through our family group chat. It's done. Both forms were accepted. She even added a little heart emoji, which somehow made me laugh despite my nerves. Ethan replied with a simple, okay. Now it was his turn. A few minutes later, Ethan sent another message. I'm at Dad's company, starting now. Then he called me, not to talk, but so I could listen. He slipped his phone into his chest pocket so I could hear everything live. I held my breath as I heard the faint sounds of an office lobby, footsteps, phones ringing, the murmur of employees, then Ethan's voice, calm and polite. Excuse me, I'd like to see Adam Wilson from the sales department. A woman's voice, bright but slightly strained, responded, one moment, please. I could almost visualize it, the polished receptionist's desk, the sterile office lighting, and behind the counter, Lila Powell herself. Then Ethan chuckled lightly. Hey, don't you remember me, Lila? I heard a sudden pause, then a sharp intake of breath. Ethan, what are you doing here? What business do you have with Adam? Her voice was trembling now. Ethan must have removed his mask and glasses at that moment because she sounded shocked. Then there was a brief silence before she whispered, wait, your surname, Yes, Ethan said firmly, I'm Adam's son. I have some important business with Dad today. From the tone of her breathing, I could practically feel the blood drain from Lila's face. She tried to stammer something, probably to call Adam's office again, but it was too late. The faint sound of an elevator dinged, then came Adam's voice, brisk and casual. Lila, who's my visitor? There was a pause, then Adam again, his voice rising. Ethan, why are you here? What's going on? I gripped my phone tighter, every muscle tense. Sorry, Dad, Ethan said evenly. I had some urgent business, so I came to the office. You remember those divorce papers you filled out, right? Mom filled in her section, and we submitted them today. Oh, and we also submitted the marriage registration with this lady here. Congratulations on your marriage, Lila. There was a long, suffocating silence. Then, chaos. What? Adam shouted. Who gave you permission to submit those? You can't just. You need identification to file a marriage registration. Oh, about that, Ethan said, sounding almost cheerful. I used your passport, Dad. In our district, family members don't even need power of attorney for proxy submission. The silence that followed was golden. Finally, Adam sputtered. But that was just, I didn't mean, it was only. Then, haltingly, he confessed everything. How he and Lila had argued over breakfast, of all things, over ketchup versus mayonnaise on scrambled eggs, and how he'd written out those forms to appease her, how he had tried to prove his devotion, never actually intending to submit them. It was so pitiful that I almost laughed. Then Lila's voice cut through, high and furious. You what? You were just pretending? I was only playing around with you anyway. Adam, now you've made me your wife on paper. How are you going to take responsibility for that? That was my breaking point. I couldn't just sit there listening anymore. I left my car and walked straight into the building. My heart was pounding, but my steps were steady. When I reached the lobby, I heard their raised voices echoing down the corridor. I pushed open the door, and the room fell silent. Adam turned first and froze. Nayan? I smiled, calm but defiant. Oh, so that's how it was, then. Lila's eyes narrowed. And who do you think you are, barging in here like this? Well, I said evenly, nice to meet you, Lila. I'm Nayan, Adam's former wife, and if I'm not mistaken, you're Lila Powell, daughter of the Powell family, the ones who run that construction company, right? Lila's face went completely white. No, that's not. Oh, but it is, I said softly. I called your office this morning to confirm. Your father was very helpful. Actually, I told him everything, how his dear daughter had been having an affair with my husband, how she tricked him into a scandal, and how the marriage registration was submitted. Lila's eyes widened in horror. You what? Papa said if I ever got married, I'd have to quit my job and take over the family business. That's why I left home, to avoid that. I arched a brow. Well, congratulations. Looks like you'll be running the Powell family business with your new husband. Adam went pale as chalk. Wait, what? You mean, I have to take over that family? The mafia? Well, I said, crossing my arms, that's what it sounds like. I almost laughed out loud at his panicked face. Lila rounded on him. This is all your fault, Adam. My fault? He yelled. You never told me who your family was. Why would I? She screamed back. If anyone found out, I'd lose my job. Their argument grew louder and louder until every employee in the lobby was staring, whispering. Phones were out, recording. Adam's entire carefully constructed reputation as a respectable, hard-working salesman was crumbling in real time. I turned toward the exit, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt free. As I left the building, I glanced at my phone. Ethan and Dakota had sent a single message in the group chat. Mission accomplished. And I smiled, not out of bitterness, but out of victory. Because finally, the lies had come to light.